That was Donald Trump speaking today at the Economic Club in New York, delivering a blistering assessment on the current state of the economy while touting his own tax proposal and his plan to achieve 3.5, maybe even 4% annual growth. Trump also told the audience of investment bankers and financial experts that he'll rein in government spending by cutting 1 cent from every government program over the next 10 years. I want to get right to it with the economics panel right now. We have Peter Morici, Veronique Rugy, and Drew Greenblatt. Veronique, let me start with you. Donald Trump made some changes from the initial plan that he put out there before, understanding that many people criticized it for raising the debt, being deficit at least $10 trillion. How do you like this new version?
Well, I mean, I usually don't have any problem with a tax plan that's not revenue neutral, as long as it's matched with spending cuts. So to the extent that this plan, too, doesn't do this, I mean, he doesn't touch entitlement spending at all. He doesn't touch defense spending. It doesn't touch any side of the spending, really. I like it better that it will only raise the deficit by $4 trillion as opposed to 10. So that's a good thing. And I also think another improvement that is made is the fact that he's not kicking as many people out of the tax roll. I mean, I think this is a real problem, a problem that's been President Bush did the same thing. And when you have very few people paying the income tax, they don't really quite care about how high other people are paying the income tax.
Right. Peter, what's your assessment?
Well, it's not revenue neutral, but it doesn't bother me particularly because Hillary's program calls for all kinds of increased taxes on the middle and upper classes. I was speaking to one of her economists today, or one that's aligned with her, and they think they can easily have a marginal tax rate of 60% and not discourage people from working. Golly, that's incredible. But what we have here are two sets of themes about the direction that tax changes and tax reform will go. We know with Donald Trump, we're going to have lower taxes on business, more incentives for growth, an easier time for the middle class. For Hillary Clinton, we're going to have more taxes, more government programs, and likely slower growth. So overall, I like the themes. I like the plan.
Drew, I think maybe we all might agree on the supply side. I think we all probably have some supply cider in our blood. But when you think that you're not going to do anything with the current entitlements, perhaps create a new one with child care, put a lot of money in inner cities, double the size of the military, even as a supply sider's greatest dream, could it be possible to do all of that and not see the deficit and our debt go through the roof?
Yeah, we definitely do not want any more debt on our poor kids. Right now we have $19 trillion of debt. That's unacceptable. It's not right. We're really not doing good to our kids. It's unacceptable. I do like 4 elements of Trump's program. The fact that he's talking about intellectual property rights and protecting them, that's wonderful for American factories. I think cutting taxes is really going to stimulate the economy. He's talking about a smaller tax. He's talking about simpler taxes. We're going to make less rich accountants. That's fabulous news for all kinds of factories throughout the nation. He's talking about instantly expensing our taxes when we go buy a piece of equipment. That's going to get people to be more bullish and more optimistic. He's talking about cutting regulations. American factories, like little factories, have $30,000 per employee of burden because the regulations are crazy. And he's talking about opening up the energy, the shacking, the fracking revolution, which is wonderful.
Sure.
The only thing I got heartburn with his plan.
Now, I want to throw one thing in there. We're sort of overdue for a recession. How would that change any of this if you throw that in there? Because these are really rosy, optimistic numbers, all in all. Again, I love lower taxes and those sort of things, but I do worry about debt and deficits, Veronique.
No, I actually think that if he actually could forget about the spending. I agree the spending side is awful. But if he actually could put in place less regulation, he could reform dramatically the corporate income tax. It would help America weather the next recession way better. Yes, you're right. We're due for a recession. The question is, how is the state of our economy going to be when we enter that recession? And there's no doubt, under Hillary's plan, it's going to be the same as under Obama. With Trump and the reform he has in mind, there is a chance that it won't be too bad.
Peter,
Charles, we're not going to have a recession if we repatriate $3 trillion.
The plan was well received, but if you gauge the smattering of clapping, I still think Wall Street's still a little antsy when it comes to trade. Already we saw where Ford said, listen, they've made it official. They're going to move all small car production to Mexico. The CEO of Ford came out today saying, listen, it's not going to cost American jobs. But acknowledging that he's got, Donald Trump has been pressuring him. He wrote a letter to Donald Trump. Are you concerned about trade and how that might change the dynamics of this, Peter?
Well, yeah, trade has to be handled very carefully. If he's going to use the tariff as a lever to renegotiate NAFTA and to finally get China to value its currency fairly, he can't just throw on an across-the-board tariff, shut down trade, because all our supply chains would be disrupted. Instead, he has to use it as a lever and make it clear that, while it might be a last resort, he's willing to do it. With regard to China, it wouldn't be that disruptive, simply because their currency is so undervalued, a 35–40% tariff would just basically revalue the yuan. So I'm not too concerned. NAFTA is another case. We have a very integrated supply chain with Mexico, and we have to be very careful about how we go about that.
Yeah. I think at the very least, though, we should get back to where we had American trucks picking up those goods at the border instead of letting Mexican drivers take them all over our country. Guys, we've run out of time. We could have this chat all day long. I might meet you at the bar after the show. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.